Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger is a Republican on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and I want you just to listen to one more piece of sound from an administration official, Nikki Haley, this morning, talking about the same issue.
I think we need to have a serious, hard talk with the Saudis to let them know we won't condone this, we won't give you a pass, and don't do this again. And then I think that the administrations have to talk about where we go from here.
You'll have a briefing tomorrow on the House side. What do you want to ask Gina Haspel?
Well, I think the evidence is important, and Secretary Pompeo is correct. Direct evidence, I would imagine, would be a text message directly from the Crown Prince, or they have audio of him ordering that. I think it's pretty obvious that he knew. So there's kind of a lot of splitting hairs on this. But what the bigger issue is that I think is getting kind of lost in this is, yes, we need to condemn Saudi behavior. That's important. I think standing for the morals that we stand for is very important. But for whatever reason, there's this kind of force in the Senate and the House that have always disliked the Saudis and are using the Saudis and the Yemen issue as a wedge between President Trump on his foreign policy. Look, there's 500,000 people dead in Syria, not near that in Yemen. Yemen's a tragedy, but there are people now on the other side of the aisle speaking up way more about Khashoggi in Yemen than they ever have about Syria. So it's important in these issues and in these discussions to be rational and reasonable while still holding true to our principles.
That's a really good point. Thank you for bringing it up. I want to also ask you about China, because the other thing Mike Pompeo was talking about today is the ongoing concerns with China, cyber warfare, and the trade deals. Watch him this morning on Fox and Friends.
They have committed cyber attacks across the world. Our effort from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and the State Department is to push back against these threats to America from China. Trade is a component of that, to be sure. The president is very focused on making sure Americans get a chance to sell their products into China. It's a big market, and the president is determined to get a level playing field for American businesses.
Closer?
What's your take on that, Congressman?
I think it's right. Secretary Pompeo says it correctly, which is we have a lot of tools. None of these tools that we have exist in a silo, which means they can all kind of work together to achieve whatever our end state is. We know there's economic unfairness, and you talk to anybody that has business anywhere near China, and they'll tell you all about it. But we also know that they steal our information. They have jets that look quite a bit like the F-35. We spent billions of dollars to develop this. They basically steal stuff like that from us, whether it's economic, whether it's military. Now, I remember in, I think, the mid-2000s, I came into work in the military, and immediately we were told we can't use things like thumb drives and CDs anymore on our computer, and there was a hack reason for that. So using all of these tools we have is the right thing to do, to say, look, we can be competitors, but we need to be treated fairly.
Before I let you go, I wanted to get your take on today. There was Russian bombers in Venezuela. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, it's one desperate regime of Vladimir Putin trying to prop up another desperate regime. That's what happens when you have really bad leaders. They like to get together and show off. I'd be surprised if these bombers can actually fly very well, because the Russian military is decrepit, and obviously the Venezuelan military in the same case. That's what happens when you oppress people. You got to send bombers to try to show off, but no doubt the Americans would always prevail in any kind of a conflict there.
And you would know that, Congressman, with all of your service. Thank you.